Walk into any corporate planning retreat, and you will eventually witness a familiar ritual. Someone draws a 2 by 2 grid on a whiteboard and asks the room to brainstorm their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Teams spend hours debating where to place each bullet point, filling the boxes until they reach a sense of completion. However, compiling a categorized list of business attributes does not generate a strategy. A SWOT matrix is a diagnostic snapshot. It organizes data to establish situational awareness, detailing exactly where a company stands at a specific moment. It identifies the current terrain without providing a route forward. Relying on this grid often leads to strategic paralysis. By categorizing complex realities into neat boxes, teams experience a false sense of accomplishment. Once the grid locks into place, the actual planning stops. Descriptive awareness is a different function than prescriptive planning. Awareness notes that you have a skilled sales team and a new competitor. Planning dictates exactly how to deploy those sales skills to neutralize that specific competitor's market entry. To generate a plan, an organization must move from static categorization to dynamic interaction. You must feed your diagnostic data into a combinatorial strategy engine, a system that tests how internal capabilities will respond to external conditions. A SWOT grid marks the beginning of the process, acting as the raw data source for a larger relational logic system. If the initial diagnostic data is methodologically flawed, the downstream strategy engine becomes useless. The final plan is only as accurate as the inputs you provide. The most common error is misclassifying internal factors and external forces. Internal elements are firmly under the firm's direct control, while external factors operate entirely outside of it. Consider dependence on banks. Organizations often list this as a weakness, but interest rates and lending policies are dictated by the macroeconomic environment. That makes it a threat, not a weakness. A second error involves listing organizational desires or future goals as opportunities. The rule of external existence dictates that an opportunity must exist in the market, regardless of whether the firm acts on it. Launching a new product is an internal reaction. Rising demand for renewable energy is the actual opportunity. Finally, data is often corrupted by a lack of analytical depth, where teams rely on vague business buzzwords. Listing a financial crisis as a threat provides no path for planning. To be useful, it must be specified into a measurable mechanism, such as reduced consumer purchasing power or increased supply chain volatility. Rigorous, objective input purification is mandatory. You must refine the data before any strategic logic can be applied to the variables. Look at PTIDM, a small Indonesian IT distributor. After years of growth, they faced revenue stagnation and increased market pressure, requiring a new diagnostic assessment. To define their strengths, we apply the resource-based view. In this framework, a strength must be a capability that is rare, valuable, and difficult for competitors to replicate. For PTIDM, this includes their access to high-quality authorized brands and a skilled workforce capable of providing personalized IT consulting. Weaknesses are defined as structural limitations that restrict a firm's long-term performance. PTIDM's headcount is severely limited. This structural bottleneck prevents them from scaling operations and leaves them reliant on word of mouth for new business. We then look at the macro environment, identifying factors that PTIDM cannot change. They operate in a rapidly growing Indonesian IT industry, which is an opportunity. Simultaneously, they face a surge of emerging low-cost competitors entering the space, which is a threat. PTIDM now has a verified diagnostic snapshot. To survive, they must mathematically combine these traits to generate a defensive and offensive roadmap. This is the TAO's matrix. It acts as the combinatorial engine, mapping internal factors directly against external conditions to find strategic vectors. The SO strategy node uses internal strengths to directly exploit external opportunities. This is the primary driver for growth. Colliding PTIDM's high-quality technical service with the expanding Indonesian IT sector identifies an expansion path, using their consulting expertise to capture the premium market segment that values reliability over low cost. The WO strategy focuses on minimizing a weakness to capture a specific opportunity. PTIDM's inability to attract new customers is the bottleneck. By investing in targeted marketing, they can overcome this internal limitation to tap into the growing demand for IT services. The ST strategy utilizes internal strengths as shields against external threats. PTIDM leverages their high-touch, personalized service to differentiate themselves. This insulates them from the threat of new, low-cost competitors who cannot match their consulting depth. Finally, the WT mode is the survival strategy. It aims to minimize weakness while actively avoiding threats. With a limited workforce facing rapid technological changes, PTIDM must upscale their existing staff. This minimizes their internal skill gaps while defending against the threat of technical obsolescence. By systematically forcing these attributes to interact, PTIDM transformed a static list of traits into 4 actionable competitive vectors. Step back to review the complete pipeline. We move from environmental scanning to diagnostic inputs, through the combinatorial engine, and finally to a multipath roadmap. Strategy is a system of relational logic. It requires moving beyond simple lists to find the intersections where value is actually created. Internal strengths only matter when they are directly aligned with an external opportunity. Without that alignment, a strength is just an unused asset. Similarly, weaknesses only become critical liabilities when they are exposed to specific external threats. Modern organizations can increase the rigor of this system by layering additional frameworks into the front end of the pipeline. A framework like PESTLE evaluates the political, economic, and technological landscape with macroeconomic rigor. This ensures the diagnostic phase begins with verified environmental data rather than general observations. The value of a strategic tool is not found in perfectly filling out boxes. It is found in forcing decision-makers to interrogate the complex intersections of their business reality.